you've actually embraced kind of low carb lifestyle to a degree, or at least in certain seasons as of recent. What kind of led you to that? What do you really notice?
So yeah, I don't really like to eat a whole bunch of carbs consisting of your rice, potatoes, or uh, vegetables at all. I'm not gonna lie. I despise vegetables. I don't think that they're good for you. I believe that the people who are committed to the carnivore diet and the animal based protein diet are on to something with this because you get so much vitamins, bioavailability from the meat. I know there's a lot of things people disagree with, as in like your cholesterol can be too high. But I've been doing it about a year now. Animal-based protein. It's literally red meat, eggs, goat cheese, goat milk. I'll throw in a little bit of white rice once a blue moon. But like you said, yeah, man, raw honey. But I keep my
Mhm.
carbs pretty decently low. And I fill the rest out with fats and proteins. And I think what really led me to it was the health benefits to try to get rid of. I had like an eczema outbreak on my leg. That's helped clear that up. I was
Yep.
using steroid cream. I was using like a hydro cream of some sort, and it wasn't working at all. Jumping onto this, it cleared it like night and day. Cleared it up, man. And I do believe that our health derives from our gut. So what we feed our body is how our health will perceive.
Hmm. So what in that process? I mean, did you lose weight? Did you like feel better? Like I hear some pretty crazy stories about people like randomly losing like years long of depression, stuff like this when they pull the carbs out.
Yeah, it's crazy. So like the best thing to give it a example would be seasonal depression. Everybody kind of suffers from when the days are darker than they are lighter. You're cold as hell in the winter, literally. I would say when you're on this kind of diet, you just have a higher energy level. You have I'm more outgoing. I just feel like everything's better. And I know it sounds cliche, to say there's no way you're happier eating steak, butter, eggs, and cheese. But I mean, all those foods, I don't know anybody that wouldn't eat those. So
Yeah.
if that's your diet, what it consists of, it's going to get very. You can do so much with it. A lot of salt too. Like we've been lied to by the industry for years about salt, but that's a whole different topic we could dive into another time. But it's bad. Like it is terrible how much they have convinced society to stay away from salt.
Hmm.
I just highly suggest people to do their own research on it. But I personally did cut all carbs out because I started to feel weary and weak. I was about 233 when I started the journey,
Hmm.
and I've been doing it for about a year and a half now. And I weighed, coming my lowest was like 210. I think I'm fluctuating around 214 right now. But I'm not trying to lose weight either. I eat a high maintenance calorie intake of
Yep.
3,000 plus calories a day. So I'm never hungry. I'm not starving. I do zero cardio, to be honest with you. And somehow I still have a decently lean physique, not even trying to shred up yet.
Y'all gotta see this man. This man's Instagram stories on weekends. He's got the griddle filled out in the garage.
I do, man. I that's my meal prep right there, and I just throw five steaks or so, and about 4 pounds of beef, and then I'll throw a little bit of chicken thighs and bacon. Sometimes I'll throw it in there, and that's what I just eat throughout the week. And I make my eggs fresh every day, but everything else I eat. I also intermittent fast every day, about 16 to 18 hours a day. That's huge, and like we don't have to go in depth to that, but I really highly suggest that if anybody's looking to lose weight and get healthier, intermediate fast anywhere from at least 12 hours a day. It's going to change your life.
Yeah. Well, so in a lot of ways, the fitness industry kind of gets wrapped up in the community with self improvement too, and probably one of your bigger stories is restoring your hairline. If you want to go into that, because you've got a lot of different series with through TikTok and Instagram talk about your journey and improving that.
Yeah, so that's actually I forgot to actually mention that. I'm glad you brought that up. I actually researched that a gentleman claimed that he went to the carnivore diet and his hairline got restored.
Hmm.
I was like, man, this is great. Like, there's no way you can restore your hairline, right? That's what I thought.
Right.
So then, if anybody knows me, you go to my Instagram, you go to my TikTok, you'll see before pictures, before videos. And if anybody's following me on YouTube, you'll see my hairline used to be like way the fuck back here. And it was super bad. It was to the point where I was literally about to shave my head because I was just that much in denial. And then it took a couple of buddies coming together and like, hey man, like you do whatever you want, but it's not looking good. And I was kind of insulted, like, man, and I just started researching because I realized that everything in this world is opposite, up, down, left, right. I've thought, well, if I'm losing my hair, there's a reason why. Other than genetics, there has to be a reason why. So it's telling, like, basically, it's your body is not getting the proper nutrition through the channels it needs to somewhere. So I'm like, okay, let's cut everything out and start over. So your typical bro bodybuilding diet is like chicken, rice, veggies, a
Yeah.
little bit of steak here and there, tilapia, whatever it may be. I'm gonna cut all this out and start over. And I had a buddy who was really sick with autoimmune disease, depression. Um, he was a model for a while, and he owns a gym. And then he literally got sick, man, and just, I mean, withered away, like lost like 30 pounds, lost everything. And then he revamped himself with just steak and eggs every day. And I noticed his hair got thicker. I'm like, I'm gonna try it. And again, I can't do much justice here, but you guys see I have hair. So I just don't know how to attest it to the fact that I've eaten more red meat, and I've done other little things to get my hairline back. But I have to say that when I incorporate this animal protein diet, it's just been much more has happened. My hair's been thicker and healthier looking. So I don't know if it's actually working 100%, but I think it's playing a big part.
Well, you're also with animal proteins. You're taking so much biotin and collagen, and just about everyone knows and understands that's better for the skin and better for the hair as well.
Right.
And
Right.
that's a convenient little fact a lot of people forget about. But do you ever really like mess with any sort of like hair prevention drugs like finasteride, dutasteride, minoxidil,
So
dermarolling, anything like this?
the Steroid I've not messed with yet because it's a little bit more extreme and harsh than
Mhm.
finasteride. It's like the next step if finasteride doesn't work. So I haven't went that step yet. I do have finasteride in my system. I take it 5 days a week. I do minoxidil 5 days a week as well. It's good to it's good to not take something every single day. It's bad for the body if the body doesn't need it. And these are chemical components. They're medicines, but in a sense they're chemicals. So, you need to do the research on the stuff because there is pros and cons to the stuff. Minoxidil can have a bad side effect. It does actually worsen the condition, if I can use that terrible word. It makes it worse before it gets better. So the hair will fall all the way out. And then
It causes a shedding, which then causes the
yes.
growth to speed back up.
Yeah. So it will stimulate the hair, but it actually, like you said, causes the shedding, and the hair regrows thicker and fuller. So I do utilize that, and I've committed to it for the rest of my life because it's something I have to apply for the rest of my life. But you can't put a price on happiness because I was struggling with I was so insecure about it. Now I don't even I'm still a little thin on top, but nowhere near what I was. It doesn't even phase me. People point it out, and I'm like, you know what, dude? I have a great family, a good life. I have a beautiful woman. I don't care anymore. I care enough to do the little things that I do to please myself. But as far as a hair transplant, I don't know if that's in the future right now, but maybe one day if things worsen. But like you said, I do incorporate the finasteride, minoxidil. I do dermal rolling twice a week, which for anybody who doesn't know what that is, just a little utensil that is just a roller. You roll into thin areas anywhere you would like to stimulate the growth more, and it brings blood circulation to it. I also do vitamin E every day, vitamin D3, and I have a scalp massage I use in the shower every single day I shower to, scalp them or massage the scalp. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I do. I think that's pretty much it, really. And then a lot of manipulation. You got to grow the hair a certain way and kind of style it and manipulate it to have it fixated how you want it. And if you want, I mean, a lot of grown men nowadays will grow it super long and it's super thin, and that doesn't work. The biggest trick to growing your hair out or to covering up any kind of thinning is to keep the hair short so the roots are thicker and healthier, and then you style it with very little product so it doesn't have a matte finish where it lays down like a dry towel in the sun that gets stiff or something.
Sure. So that with finasteride, it's obviously one of probably the most well known, most often used hair loss prevention drug out there in the market. Period. But then
Yeah.
you start, and through the grace of the internet, obviously you can hear people's stories. You hear stories like Ryan Russo, where I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but didn't take finasteride, but took lion's mane and has developed post finasteride syndrome
Ooh.
pretty intensely. And there's a large community of seems like about 0.5% of all finasteride users who come off of it have a very dysregulated androgen receptor system. So when you hear about stuff like that, does that kind of scare you as far as the long term, or do you take a lower dose and you don't really feel much?
So when I researched it and got a hold of Hims, the company I went through to get it, which is very popular, I'm sure anybody that suffered from male pattern baldness or hair loss has researched Hims or Keeps. And they basically said, here's one of the biggest issues we have, which is, a lot of men get ED from it. And then others were talking about what you just talked about. Now, the the biggest issue is it does sit in the back of your mind, and you have to think and ask yourself, like, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah.
And I think for the time being where I was at in 2020 when I started it, I definitely was struggling. And again, it's like it doesn't appear like much now, but when it was thinner, I remember when my hair started to grow back about a year and a half later, I started seeing really good gains and results from it. I'd had coworkers like, "Hey man, can I ask you an honest question?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Do you wear a hairpiece?" I said, "What?" And they're
Oh,
like, "Do you wear a
no.
hairpiece?" I said, "No." And they're like, "Well, you used to be like almost bald." I said, "I was getting there." And they're like, "Oh, well, you just you look good, man. Your hair looks fuller." I'm like, "Well, thank you." I said, "I did some protocols and took some remedies." And they asked a couple other bald guys, were like, "Man, can we do it?" I'm like, "I don't know because you're pretty far gone, but I mean, it's worth a try. I don't know."
Yeah.
But there is people that do claim that switching to more red meat lifestyle increased their hair flow so much they actually grew hair back. Now, again, this could be far-fetched people. Genetics could play a big part. How their body reacts to it and responds is all questionable. So we don't know for sure. But I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea to try if it's something that's piquing someone's interest.